And building upon that, now that people have become less categorical and less demanding on themselves, has this affected the church?
I don't think it's affected the church. It's definitely affected them. You used the phrase categorical. I like that phrase. Modern society has, in a sense, given up on, or rejected in some cases, any kind of categorical reality. Good, bad, as we mentioned already, right or wrong. These are categorical classifications that society doesn't like anymore. But you can add to that many other classifications. The world seems to be in a phase of rejecting all of these kinds of approaches to discerning right from left, up from down, and saying everything is equal, take your choice of what you wish. Ultimately, it doesn't hurt the church. The church just simply never believes this and never will. It hurts the person. And so the job of the church is to heal that wound that very often the person doesn't realize is even being created. But what happens in a person's heart when they start to reject, whether it's intentionally, willfully, or if it is accidentally, implicitly, but when a person rejects to ever greater degrees the reality of themselves, of the world, of God, it disintegrates their humanity from within. And so look at the world we have now, a world which at a social level prides itself on saying we've overcome all of these old patriarchal, imperial, colonial categories, and there are problems with all of those things in certain ways, but we've overcome all of these old things, we've set ourselves free, we can decide what we want, we can be what we want, think what we want, do what we want. And what's the end result? We live in a culture that has a higher degree of clinical depression than at any point in human history, a higher level of anxiety, especially amongst young people, than at any point in human history, a higher level of suicide than at any point in human history. So what is the end result of this rejection of categories and truths and so on? This idea that I set myself free from all of them. I end up a slave to myself. And at the end of the day, the very thing that people think they want, to be their own judge, their own God, is the source of really the greatest sorrow that a human can experience. Because who am I at the end of the day? Right? Who am I to say what is good or bad, right or wrong? My thoughts on that might change from morning to noontime, based on the experiences I go through. What really sets a heart free is to be told in a spirit of love, this is good for you, and this is bad for you. Do this, and you'll thrive. Do this, and you'll suffer. And if we can accept that, not as some enslaving oppression, but as a gift of reality, it sets the heart free in a real sense. So this is a real problem. The church does not struggle, but the people within the church struggle. And it makes it harder for people to hear what Christ has to say, because Christ does not speak in ambiguous terms. Christ does not come and say, have a think about what you'd like to do and come to a good decision and act on that. Christ speaks in categorical terms. Go and stop doing this. Believe like this. Don't believe like that. Do this. Don't do that. You don't hear Christ saying to people, go and decide for yourself what you want to do. But it becomes harder for people to hear this, and harder for them to hear it in a manner that they are ready to emulate. Look at some of the great saints of the church. St. Anthony the Great. He walked into church, he heard the Gospel of Matthew being read. If you want to be perfect, go sell what you have, give it to the poor, and follow me. And he did it. He left church, he sold his belongings, and he went and became a monk, and became a great saint, and miracle worker, and monastic. And people say to themselves today, why don't we have this, the kind of holiness that we had before, the kind of piety, the kind of awe-inspiring Christian lives? Well, a great deal of the answer to that question is people don't respond to God the way that they used to. And so again, the church must take up this task and teach people. There is right and wrong. There is good and bad. And the job of the church is not to say, here, let me give you an alternative view about reality, and you think about it, and if you like bits of it, take them. If you don't, reject them. No. The job of the church is to say, here's reality. Accept it or reject it. That's your choice. We're not going to force you. No one can force you. Forcing you would be counterproductive. But you either can accept it or not. If you accept it, you will have accepted a true thing. If you reject it, you will have rejected a true thing. But the thing itself, truth, is non-negotiable. Truth is a person, Jesus Christ. You either take him as he is and let him transform you into someone new, or you try to turn him into yourself, your vision of what you think you want. In which case, you'll get what you ask for. You'll get your own little, mildly inspiring religious idea, but it'll have far more to do with your own will than with the truth of God.